Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl as we continue our look at the comparisons as part of our faction focus series for the Empire of Man in Warhammer the Old World. And now we're going to be looking at a War Machine comparison. So, what have we got? We've got the Great Cannon, so that has also its Grape Shot in bracket, so 60-inch range. Is the highest range of any of the Empire War Machines. On top of that, it also has the highest strength, and it also has the highest base AP. Now, the mortar there also has the same AP, and an AP of -3 with if that's only on the central hole of the target. So, Great Cannons, best range. Hellblaster, the lowest range, but the mortar and the Hellstorm do have minimum ranges. Strength-wise, the mortar and the Hellstorm are pretty low for a war machine. And again, it's looking to fill those capability gaps, right? So, you can see the Great Cannon and the Hellblaster actually do offer some really good high strength damage for your Empire army. That AP for the Great Cannon, -2, really good. -2 for the mortar is pretty good. It's just the strength letting it down. And then you've got -1 for the Hellstorm and the Hellblaster, but the Hellblaster does get the Armor Bane too. So, bearing in mind it's rolling in multiple shots, there's a good chance you're going to get at least a few Armor Banes in that. Weapon rules, you can see where you've got the Armor Bane, that makes a difference. The Great Cannon's nice because you're getting the D3 +1 wounds, and then with the Grape Shot you're getting the needs more nails. The mortar, you're getting D3 wounds, but that's only on the central target that's underneath the whole of the template. You can also see in terms of templates, the mortar there with the 5-inch template, that's a big old template, and the Hellstorm with the D3 times 3 inches. So you can see why the strength is reduced, because high strength on those size templates would be a problem in the game. But the low strength is just, how many wounds are you actually going to get from this? You're going to have to be rolling pretty good dice, right, on the wounds. So, points cost, Great Cannon and Hellstorm Rocket Battery, joint highest points cost. Overall, I think the Great Cannon is value for its points. I think the Hellstorm is maybe a touch expensive for its RNG nature. It's one of those things that, it can either pop off and do really well, or you can have a nightmare and it's going to do virtually nothing. I mean, you could get the same with the Great Cannon because, it's an RNG game, but I think overall it's a more reliable, repeatable damage output from the Great Cannon. Hellblaster Volley Gun is kind of one that kind of sits in the middle in terms of points, but actually I think it's just underrated because of its range. The Strength 5 is nice, the AP is nice, the multiple shots. Like I say, if you're able to position this well within your army, give it some protection, I think the damage output on that could be really nice, particularly if you start hitting some heavily armoured infantry units. They would really feel that. Or even start hitting some knights, for example, or monstrous creatures. Because while it's not multiple wound damage, it's the fact that you're putting that many strength 5 shots into the target, and say with that Armor Bane 2 as well. So, and the Hellblaster supported by an engineer, I think is really good. So you can see across here with the stats, for me, the Great Cannon really stands out as probably being the best war machine, I think, overall. Now, they all have specific roles, and the mortar and the Hellstorm, again, the thing to think about with those is, they are indirect fire weapons. They do not need line of sight. So it's easy to protect them. It's just how much is the output for the points? Are they going to make their points back in damage? They don't have any extra effects in that regard. So it's all about the damage. Can they make their points back? Now, the one thing that you can pretty much say is they're probably going to shoot every single turn. So you're just going to need careful picking of the target, I think, because you're only going to be going after stuff that you can wound reliably. And you are going to have the RNG nature of the scatter piece of it as well. So are they going to make the points back? The mortar has more chance, I think, of doing it than the Hellstorm, just because of how cheap in terms of points it is. But like I say, it's just the RNG nature, and you try and mitigate as much RNG in your list as possible. Needless to say, They all have value in some shape or form, and they're all pretty fun to play with in terms of war machines. And they are all varied, which is nice. You're not looking at carbon copies of some slightly different stats, that sort of thing. They've all got a clearly defined role about what you're taking it for, what targets you're taking it for, what gaps are you filling in your army. Maybe if you went on a cavalry focused army, you'd get more out of the mortar because you really want cavalry going into expensive cavalry going into really cheap units. Well, the mortar may be able to deal with that cheap infantry units of skeletons, let's say, or something like that. So overall, I think there's a good selection of war machines there, but for me, the standout is the Great Cannon and the Hellblaster there, not far behind, just being careful of that range. There you go. That brings us to the end of the comparisons for our Empire faction focus. We got 3 episodes to go, and that's 2 sample 2,500 point army lists, and then some potential missing units we may see in the future. If this video was useful, give it a thumbs up. If it wasn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And as always, if you want to see more content, please hit that subscribe button. It's free for you to do. It's a big deal for me, so thank you for that in advance. And thank you to all those that have already subscribed. You've been watching The Ghost Owl. Tune back in as we take a look at our first 2,500 point sample army list for the Empire.